Hello, my name is David Laing. I'm here representing the Brampton Bicycle Advisory Committee, which may sound strange to you. And I guess it's strange to me as well, because up until about a year and a half ago, I guess now, if anybody had said to me that I was going to be the chair of the Brampton Bicycle Advisory Committee, and that I was going to be advocating for bicycling as a transportation alternative, I would have told them that they were crazy. You see, my background is business, and the only advocacy that I ever did was trying to get somebody to buy my product or services at a profit. However, I started cycling about 3 or 4 years ago because I became very concerned about the environment, particularly about climate change. And I said, I got to do something about this. And so cycling was one of the several things that I did to reduce my personal carbon footprint. And so I started off with a virtual circle around my house of 5 kilometers. And anywhere within that circle, I made a pledge to myself that I was going to start to ride my bike instead of driving my car. And before I knew it, it became a habit. And so the 5K became 10K, and then the 10K became 15K. And the next thing I knew, I was basically not driving my car at all. I was just riding everywhere I was going. So I quickly realized also that it was a great way to help me stay in shape. It was way cheaper than driving my car. And with the exception, particularly of this last winter, some days in January where I almost froze my fingers off, it was a heck of a lot more fun. So I also came to the conclusion, however, that with some notable exceptions, mind you, Brampton is not a particularly friendly place for utilitarian cyclists. By that I mean those people that want to use their bicycle to get from point A to point B. And this seemed fundamentally wrong to me. And so I decided to do something about it. And so about a year ago, actually a little bit more than a year ago, I formed this organization called the Brampton Bicycle Advisory Committee. I thought the initials BBAC sounded kind of neat. And also I went to a meeting in Mississauga where they had a Mississauga Cycling Advisory Committee, and they shortened it to MCAC, and I don't know, that just didn't go over very well. So BBAC, that was what it became. And I had a lot of help getting some folks, and we eventually got a group together of about 10 individuals, which has since grown to maybe about 15, I guess, for a very solid core of folks that participate. And I also did a lot of reading. I read everything that I could get my hands on about active transportation. And I started buttonholing experts that were in the field of active transportation. I began to go to symposiums to learn about active transportation. And I became associated with an organization called Share the Road, Cycling Coalition. Wonderful organization. Don't have time to talk about it right now. However, in this past year, I have learned so much, and what I've learned has absolutely astounded me. You see, Brampton and Peel region are facing some very serious challenges. Elevated rates of disease and healthcare costs, traffic congestion on our roads, unsustainable demands for infrastructure spending, and the hollowing out of our Main Street businesses. Just to name a few. Now, these are pretty serious issues, and I would submit to you that every one of them can be largely or wholly addressed if we would just get out of our cars as a community and start cycling more. We know that the majority of our young people are not getting the requisite hour of daily activity, physical activity. We know that sedentary-related diseases are costing all of us as taxpayers huge amounts actually billions of dollars in healthcare costs, and that a significant portion of those costs could be avoided if we just be a little bit more active than we are today. We know that moderate cycling is a wonderful form of heart-healthy exercise that burns about 300 calories for every 12 to 15 kilometers of distance traveled. We also know that cycling is the most efficient way of getting around. I mean, it is 5 times more efficient than walking, And the energy contained in a glass of orange juice, which is about 120 calories, will take a cyclist about 5 kilometers. And that same amount of energy, if you convert it into gasoline, put it in your car, would hardly take a car and driver to the end of their driveway. So we know that traffic congestion in the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area is costing us about $6 billion a year in productivity loss. And we know that every car that's replaced by a cyclist increases road capacity and reduces the maintenance cost for that road. We also know that 20% or more of the traffic volumes during the morning and afternoon rush hour are the result or contributed to by parents driving their children to and from school. And we also know that the majority, by vast majority of those trips are 5 kilometers or less, which is eminently bikeable and walkable. We also know that other communities have been successful at eliminating or deferring substantial amounts. I'm talking about millions of dollars in infrastructure spending by making a much smaller contribution or investment to encourage a 1 or 2% shift, what they call a modal shift, from cars to cycling. And we also know that other communities have demonstrated that separated bike lanes along cities' main streets encourage the cyclists to shop along those streets. And in fact, if you do the math and the studies, those bicycle lanes are worth more in terms of retail dollars to the businesses along those streets than the on-street parking. So, huge, huge benefits to cycling. And yet, despite all of those compelling things, and by the way, I've only given you a small snippet of what actually is available. And everything that I've talked about here can be backed up by scientific evidence and studies that have been done. And yet, the old biases persist. The roads in Brampton, for the most part, are not friendly places for cyclists, and neither are the pathways for those that want to depend upon them on a daily, year-in, year-out basis, seasonal basis, to get to school or get to work. The methods of building and supporting communities are still heavily skewed in favor of the automobile. And commuter cycling remains a fringe activity for a few eccentrics. Oh, wait a second, what does that make me? Well, I guess in a courtroom, so guilty as charged. But, and this I want to mention something from Eleanor McMahon, who is the president and founder of the Share the Road Cycling Coalition that I mentioned before. And she said recently that cycling in North America too long has been dominated by mammals. And when queried for clarification as to what she meant by that, she said mammals, M-A-M-I-L-S, middle-aged men in lycra and spandex. She said it's time to change the conversation, and well, it is time to change the conversation. Cycling must be a choice that is available for everyone in the community. Rich, poor, young, old. There are even bicycles and tricycles that are available for people that have handicaps, physical handicaps. And the reason why cycling must be available to everyone is that because cycling is good for everyone in the community. And I would say that whether an individual cycles or not. So I would encourage all of you in the room to visit our website at bikebrampton.ca. I would ask for your support for those activities and initiatives that we are participating in, and there are a number of them already. And also for your participation in events. I mean, after all, next Monday is the start of Bike Month. And Bike Month, there is a number of activities that are ongoing, not the least of which is an event that we have initiated called Bike the Creek, and which is along the Etobicoke Creek Trail, just behind us here. And finally, and this is where I think this is a wonderful opportunity to really start to gather on the ideas and the creativity in this room, is to have you pass on your suggestions and ideas to us about how we collectively can change the conversation. Thank you.